Mr. President, I had a more robust statement that I intend to make later, but since I understand the time is truncated, I will wait for that because I'm not going to equivocate on something that I feel passionately about and something that I have worked a long time as part of the Gang of Eight to achieve. So hopefully I'll get to that later today. But I did want to take the opportunity of the time that is available to just create a certain context, having just heard from my colleague from Texas. I'm glad that he acknowledges this bill will pass the Senate. I believe the bill will pass the Senate because the American people are tired of a broken immigration system that neither meets our values, preserves our security, or promotes our economy. And that's what is driving the American people in poll after poll to say it's time to fix our broken system. Now, I've heard the comments about this bill will pass the Senate, but it won't pass the House. Well, having served in the House, I'm not quite sure anybody can make that determination. Part of it will be what leadership wants to achieve in the House and what it does not seek to achieve. And I would not negotiate against myself, against a process in the House, which I am unaware of at this moment exactly how they're going to pursue it. So why would I seek to diminish the Senate's prerogative to send what they think is the appropriate reform on immigration to the House for their consideration? I wouldn't want to do that. That's what conferences are all about. So if the House has a different view as to how do we reform our broken immigration system, has a different view as to how we ensure the national security of the United States, has a different view as to how we promote the economic interests that immigration reform does promote, has a different view as to how do we ensure that workers' wages are not suppressed by having an underclass of millions of people who are exploited and therefore bring down the wages of all other American workers, fine. Let them express their view, and then we come together in a conference to negotiate what hopefully can be a final version to be sent to the President. Now, I find it ironic that my colleague from Texas consistently refers to Senate Democrats insisting on a pathway to citizenship. I assume that he takes the mantle of the Republican Party and says that all Republicans believe that there should be no pathway to citizenship. And that obviously is rejected by the four colleagues that worked with me for months, Senator McCain's, Senator Graham, Senator Flake, Senator Rubio, that believe that a pathway to citizenship is an important ingredient towards achieving the comprehensive reform we all want, as well as others who have expressed support for that concept. Now, I know that it may be popular with some of my colleagues to invoke President Obama's name as some type of red herring in this process. The bottom line is that the bill that we are debating, I hope we will be debating after the motion to proceed shortly, is about finding the fixes to our broken immigration system that was devised by 4 Democrats and 4 Republicans, and has since been supported by more. So it isn't about President Obama. It's about getting the Senate to function and to solve one of the critical issues facing this country. Now, I heard the suggestion that only Senate Democrats got amendments that they wanted and opposed amendments of Republicans in the Judiciary Committee. My understanding is that there were 136 amendments adopted in the Judiciary Committee, of which all but 3 were bipartisan amendments, all Republican-sponsored amendments. So I respect that the gentleman had amendments, and maybe his view did not prevail, but it isn't that there wasn't a bipartisan process that led to 136 amendments to the original proposition that the Gang of Eight put forward in order to be able to move forward. As a matter of fact, I think some of those who have opposed and still oppose comprehensive immigration reform, I know that there are some, if 10 angels came swearing from above that this would be the right policy for America, they would say, no, you're wrong to the 10 angels. I get it. I understand where they're at. But the process held in the Judiciary Committee was as about open and transparent and as fair as you can have. And that's why there are 136 changes to our proposal by virtue of the Judiciary Committee. And finally, this reference to union bosses. I don't know any union bosses that were in any room. As a matter of fact, part of the compromise here is that labor didn't get everything it wanted, neither did the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. But they both agreed, and they were standing behind us when we announced this legislation and saying this is good for America. And so big business and the AFL-CIO, the United Farm Workers with the big agro-growers in this country, the most progressive pro-immigrant groups with Grover Norcross and the Club for Growth, all saying that this legislation was what is important and necessary for America. So everybody is entitled to their opinion, Mr. President, but you're not entitled to your own facts. And I expect during the course of this debate to make sure that at least when we are debating the same facts. This legislation is good for our country. It will reform our broken immigration system. It will let me know who is here to pursue the American dream versus who might be here to do it harm. It will create economic opportunity for all Americans. It will add more taxpayers to the rolls of this country so that there can be true shared burden at the end of the day, and it will create greater enterprise as is exhibited by the high-tech companies of which so many have been created by immigrants in this country. I look forward to a fuller opportunity to present all of the reasons why this legislation, including tough border security provisions more than ever before, more money spent than ever before, and in fact spent in an intelligent way, and in fact in a way that ultimately, cumulatively, creates for border security more money than we are spending in domestic law enforcement as a whole. So, Mr. President, I look forward to that opportunity, and until then, I yield the floor.